Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who will be reviewing the album by Danger Mouse and Black Thought, Cheat Codes. I almost didn't, for a couple reasons. One, shame on y'all. People coming into my Megan Thee Stallion review and saying, "How dare you spend this much time with this trash album? You need to be reviewing Black Thought and Danger Mouse." Listen, I understand. There's a lot of divisions in the hip-hop world, but I am not going to be part of that division. I don't consider there to be higher hip-hop and lower hip-hop. There's just different forms. That's the strength of the art form, is that there's such a strong mainstream and such a strong alternative. So please don't come to my comment section denigrating hip-hop artists of any form. If I review them, it means I like them, which means you're insulting me. Don't insult me, please. Also, when this album came out, there's a song called No Gold Teeth. So I'm like, oh, come on. Is this just going to be a preachy album about I don't floss and I don't talk about money because I'm an alternative rapper? Is this the kind of album that's going to encourage that kind of mentality of like, this is the good hip-hop. This is one of the good ones, not one of the bad ones. But I am going to review it. And as you can tell from the provocative and soon-to-be-explained thumbnail and title, I do like this album quite a bit. Now, I will say I was shocked when last year I released a top 5 MCs of all time, and many people said, how could you not put Black Thought on there? And I realized I should start off this video giving you a little bit of a history. My long history of being insanely disappointed with Black Thought. Again, remember the thumbnail before you get mad. Understand that I've come around, but I have, for many years, been very disappointed by Black Thought, and I'm going to explain why. You see, I was introduced, this is going to be the whitest sentence ever said, I was introduced to the Roots at a Beastie Boys concert in 1995. They were playing in Worcester, Massachusetts. I grew up outside of Boston. And I saw the Roots open up for the Beastie Boys, and no lie, they were better than the Beastie Boys. I mean, the Beastie Boys were already doing the whole, like, you know, real instrument stuff, and this was like the peak. This was the best time to see the Beastie Boys, and they were great. But the Roots blew them away. And so I just couldn't believe how good they were playing their own instruments. But the main thing that I liked about the Roots in 1995 was their beatbox guy, Rozelle. See, I didn't understand. I thought Rozelle was just one of the Roots. So I went out and I bought this CD, Do You Want More by the Roots. Perfectly fine CD. And I was expecting it to be just like that concert. By that, I mean insanely great instrumentals, all performed by the musicians, and then tons of amazing beatboxing by the leader of the band, Rozelle. Well, you know the punchline to this. Rozelle's not, I don't even think he's even in the Roots. He was just a guy who I guess toured with them. I don't know. Black Thought was the main rapper. And when I heard that, even though I liked his rhymes on here, I thought they were just fine. And then we have the song Question Mark versus Rozelle. Here it is, everybody. Time to listen to this. It's just not that good. It's a fine song, but it's not the Rozelle that I wanted. Fast forward a couple years, this album comes out. I buy it the Tuesday that it comes out. Albums used to come out on Tuesday back in the day. Back in 1999, Rozelle, Make the Music With Your Mouth 2000. It's a fine album, but I'm like, where the hell is the beatboxing? You have to wait until the very end, the hidden bonus track where it's him versus DJ Scribble. You want a battle? Oh. It's a must. It's just the greatest. Like the thing that I wanted after seeing that concert in 1995, I would finally get on the bonus track on this one album. So when I say that Black Thought disappointed me, it's just that I had unrealistic expectations. So when Things Fall Apart came out, and it was like the biggest album of the year, and everyone said it was the best, and my friend Brad, who has very good taste in hip-hop music as well, bought the album and just couldn't stop playing it. He'd drive around his dad's Camry, he had it on tape, and we just listened to it over and over and over again. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just not really into the Roots. They're just not that great. And then I want to show you the saddest album in my entire CD collection. This. The Roots Phrenology from 2002. If you are a fan of this channel, you know that I am the musical Rip Van Winkle. Like most people, when I hit my mid-20s, I died. I musically died. New music was dead to me. I stopped listening to it. This album came out in 2002, which was basically the year of my musical death, where, with very small exceptions, you know, Radiohead, Daft Punk, some random music would come up and I would follow it, but in general, I wasn't trying to find new music. So this album is right at the very tail end. I guess I had heard enough of Things Fall Apart that I wanted to give this a shot. Do you want to know something about this CD? It has never been played. I have 2 CDs that have never been played. Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill. My ex-girlfriend gave that to me after we broke up. Never listened to it. And this album. Isn't it sad? I bet this is a good album. I bet it's filled with great beats. I bet, based on what I just heard from this Cheat Codes album, it's filled with great raps. But I never listened to it. So Black Thought has always just sort of existed as this not Rozelle and just not what I was looking for. And then the Roots become the house band for Jimmy Fallon? I hate Jimmy Fallon. I mean, he's a goofy, smart, kind of tall, sort of handsome white dude from Boston who has a deep, loving, and kind of annoying attitude towards hip-hop music. Of course I hate Jimmy Fallon. I am Jimmy Fallon. All those things describe me. So kind of all these things all mixed together. So I dismissed him because of Jimmy Fallon. I dismissed him because of back then. And so when I got all those comments saying, how did you not put Black Thought in your top 5? It got me thinking. It got me excited. Eventually, I will review Black Thought. Eventually, I will go back. Because this is a thing, everybody. This channel, when I talk about my previous ignorance, my slogan is, my ignorance is profound. When I speak about my previous ignorance, I'm not endorsing it. I am explaining it. I'm using it to illustrate faulty thinking. Because you might have the same faulty thinking. You might have the same attitude towards Jay-Z. You might have the same attitude towards anybody, right? You might have towards Public Enemy. And it's part of this channel is helping you, hopefully, to have the same kind of journey that I've had, where I get to reconsider and rethink and become alive again to new music. And I'll tell you, to all those people who came into my Megan Thee Stallion comment section saying I shouldn't be reviewing that, you're dead, okay? Like, you need definitely listen to Danger Mouse and Black Thought. But if you can't also listen to Megan Thee Stallion and hear the quality and craftswomanship in her music, you died. You just suffered mid-20s music death. So give yourself a shot. Watch my video. It's a good video. So that's half of my disappointment. That's just the half of my warpath. The other half is Danger Mouse. So I remember back in 2004, I was already musically dead, maybe it's 2005, I heard all about Danger Mouse, Danger Mouse, Danger... First of all, I love Danger Mouse, the cartoon. Enjoyed it very much, Penfield, the whole thing. And he made an album that was mixing together Jay-Z and the Beatles, the White Album and the Black Album, and it's the Grey Album, and I had all these thoughts in my head of how great this is going to be and how perfect it's going to be. And then I listened to it, and I was disappointed. It's not that it's not good. It's that it wasn't as good as I imagined it. It's not a perfect assemblage. I downloaded it off of LimeWire. Last year, my brother bought the album off of some sketchy person in Amazon or something. So I now have it on CD. And it's actually really quite good. But it was still disappointing. And then after that, Gnarls Barkley was okay. They were everywhere. I was mainly pissed that the guy who did my favorite verse on the Black Rob album was now just becoming a singer. I'm sort of indifferent towards the Black Keys. I'm basically indifferent towards the Gorillaz. So like Danger Mouse didn't quite hit for me. So here they are together in an album which I am posing as potentially perfect. How do we get there? How do we get to the perfect album? Well, I love my intros, and I'm not done yet. Because now I got to talk to you about the perfect pancakes. Trust me, I'm going somewhere. You see, every Sunday I make pancakes for my family, okay? Every Sunday. I listen to the song Sunday Morning by Velvet Underground, and we have pancakes. It's a ritual that we created as a family. And for a long time, I just Bisquick, because all pancakes are is just flour and eggs. Flour and eggs, that's basically it. So I'd use Bisquick. Secret little thing about Bisquick. You can make it where you don't need to add eggs, like that's what Krusty's is, but they make it that you add eggs so you feel like you're cooking. It's like a little trick that they do. That's what I did for years and years and years and years. And I would basically always listen to Johann Sebastian Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 6 while I cooked. I listened to that because it was sampled by the best sampler in hip-hop history. Tell me in the comments if you know what the sample is. who is the best sampler in hip-hop history. And it's not Kanye. Best sample, Brandon Concerto No. 6. So I listen to that and I cook, it's nice and warm. Eventually I upgraded and I started following the recipe from How to Cook Everything by Mark Bittman. My wife is an amazing cook, so she kind of gave me that. But this Sunday, everything changed. This Sunday, I really upped my game. I stopped listening to Bach and I listened to Danger Mouse and Black Thought. Beautiful. Just a great album to cook to, upbeat, great drum beats, great sibilance in his voice, just super powerful, awesome. And in addition, I really upgraded my pancake game. I started studying with Kenji Lopez Alt. Kenji Cakes. This book and this guy's recipes are completely bonkers. This pancake recipe, which I swear to God is the best pancakes I've ever eaten, and nothing is even close. Buttermilk and sour cream and whipped egg whites. And when I eat it, my wife, who's also a scientist in addition to being a great cook, just keeps on saying, did you know how much science goes into this? How much science goes into this? How much science goes into this perfection, into these flour and eggs? And we're listening to the album. Listen to Sunday morning, and then I immediately put on cheat codes again. And I say, do you know how much science goes into this album? How much science goes into this perfection? You might think it's just flour and eggs, and you might think it's just beats and rhymes. But it's not. This cheat codes album has got that sour cream in it, is perfectly balanced, is perfectly made. It has all the typical ingredients of a hip-hop album, but has a perfection to it. A perfection to its craft, which makes it transcendent. And it's not always easy to explain. Flour and eggs, beats and rhymes. The Beats by Danger Mouse. Finally living up to his potential. I think. This is the best thing he's ever done, and I don't think it's even close. Of course, I haven't heard most of the stuff he's done. I have to excuse some sounds. Both of my dogs are sleeping on the dog bed over there, and they might start wrestling each other. They're my biggest fans. They smash the like bucket. Do you? Smash the like bucket. Buy my like bucket merch. Subscribe, okay? Support me here. So, Danger Mouse, so he's working with samples. I read a quote somewhere where he talked about that, this is how he used to do things 20 years ago. But the thing is, it's not just samples. He also mixes it perfectly with additional voices and instrumentation. And he just has this amazing ability to develop these samples just the right amount. Seriously, the sampling on this album is worthy of Prince Paul. That's a spoiler of the previous question. Flour and eggs, beats and rhymes. Then we have the rhymes of Black Thought. For the first time in my life, despite the fact I had been listening to Black Thought since 1995, when I bought the album and I put a little sticker on there so my deadbeat friends didn't steal my CDs, which they did anyways, and I go over to their house and I see all their CDs with my stupid sticker on them. Old man problems. My first time really listening to Black Thought. And I get it. Crazy good flow. Wildly intelligent, interesting, deep references, great punchlines, a great mix of bragging, just straightforward hip-hop, existentialist, I am the best rapping, and socially conscious, and, as he said in an interview that I read, emotional and visceral. He's actually somewhat personal on here. So we have this album that is pancakes, that is hip-hop, but there's just something to it, to the craftsmanship. I read somewhere that they've been working on this album for 20 years or something. Maybe that's the secret. I don't know. Maybe it's just what happens when we allow rappers to get older. Okay? Danger Mouse is my age. Black Thought is my brother's age. The guy who bought me this. We're letting rappers age. And when they age, sometimes they just do too much coke and fall off, which is what I think happened to most of the Wu-Tang, right? Or they develop their craft and they get better and they're able to masterfully produce something like this. At a certain point in the album, Black Thought says he'll be doing this when he's 70, and I actually believe it. So is it a perfect rap album? I think it may be. I don't think that means it's the best rap album, right? Like, I personally, this will probably be in my top 5 this year for rap albums, but maybe not. It can be perfect without being my favorite. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think sort of objectively, if we do our best to just objectively look at a work of hip hop, the beats and the rhymes are just awesome all the way through. So let me start giving you some examples here. Let me give you a stamp here. Just click above the plastic banana. The song Cheat Codes, the title track. I had a hard time picking an example song because they're all so good. They're all so exemplary. This, when I talk about Danger Mouse's beats here, it's this great drum beat. And the only word I can use is just chunky. This cool kind of chunky, kind of compressed sound. But then the sample develops and extends out a little bit with this weird little military snare. And then he starts rapping before the beat actually settles itself. And this is a technique which Chuck D used quite a bit with Public Enemy. We're going to be coming back to Chuck D. But the sample keeps on kind of cutting in and out. It does these little tricks, and sometimes it cuts out completely. Like one time there's like a shotgun. So much going on. But it's all being led and anchored and calmed down by this organ that's just playing on the quarter notes. Beep, 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 beep. And then we have these crazy rhymes where they run the strip like the women in peep shows, pay the price, gamble with your life like Pete Rose. Hey, I know you're 50 years old. That means that in the late 70s, you're from Philadelphia, right? So obviously that's when Pete Rose played for Philadelphia. True story. I own several thousand Pete Rose baseball cards. I bought them when I was younger. I was really into Pete Rose. But just a beautiful reference, a Philadelphia-specific reference, even though he's mostly famous for playing in Cincinnati. If you're from Philadelphia, you know Pete Rose was a Philly. He won a championship with the Phillies, right? And then he was a gambler, so pay the price with Pete Rose. Rhyming peep shows with Pete Rose, already I'm in. Bust a move, paper bubble like Veuve Clicquot, making reference to a very specific kind of champagne. Who got the streets of Philly flooded like Puerto Rico? You get McNabb like Donovan, it's Finitos. So again, Donovan McNabb, a football player in Philadelphia. So all these very specific Philadelphia references. By the way, what a month for Philadelphia. What a couple months, what a summer for Philadelphia rap. We had that More Mother. And then before that, we had the Guy Guevara. Like, those are 3 really good underground rap albums that came out of Philadelphia. Theologians point to the trap house that God is in. Go on, take his name in vain like a phlebotomist. A phlebotomist are people who take the blood out. And then later, blackness is not a monolith. Like, so he's able to mix together kind of goofy lines like gamble with your life, like Pete Rose, and then throw in something very important. Obviously, like blackness is not a monolith. If there's one thing that studying American popular culture will teach you, is that blackness is not a monolith, because hip-hop isn't a monolith, because rap isn't a monolith, because underground hip-hop music from Philadelphia isn't even a monolith. You can't even compare those 3 people from Philadelphia really together. They're doing things wildly different, have wildly different perspectives on the world. And then the sample fully develops at the end with the ooh, wow, ooh sounds that come in, and it's just beautiful. He's digging in the crates, plus he's augmenting, plus he's mixing things together, plus he's creating a perfect sound bed for the perfect sibilance, perfect punchlines, perfect rhymes, perfect balance of flossing and consciousness and phlebotomist. What a song. What an album. Did I talk too long about pancakes? Seriously, you gotta try Kenji cakes. They're so good. I'm going to go through the rest of the album a little bit quicker here. Opens up with the album, the track called Sometimes, which is a lead from the sample. I love the way the beats mix together with the rhymes. So like the beat comes, you know, this like strings and guitar and a soulful voice. I don't know where the sample comes from. It reminds me of the kind of soul that was made in the 70s that was heavily inspired by what Isaac Hayes was up to. And then, I don't know if this is coincidental or not. Most likely, if you're a big fan of this album, you're a big fan of drill music and Zion. Okay? Another album that is not as perfect as this, but that I actually prefer. The first line to each album, Drill Music and Zion, and Cheat Codes are goofy as hell. Assassin's Creed is the first lyric that is said by Lupe Fiasco on his album. The first lyric on this album, Prisoners of Azkaban. Like, what's going on here? Like why are we doing like a 2009 cultural sampler? Anyways, then Black Dot immediately follows up with Thinking of a Master Plan. So this is obviously a very clear callback to Eric B. and Rakim, Thinking About a Master Plan. All I got is a microphone inside my hand. I don't remember what song it's from. You can tell me in the comments if you want. You know, but sort of very conscious of this throwback to different eras of hip-hop. Talks about, like the sample gets extended again with this guitar and just super soulful. And then we get to the song... Wait, did I flip over this? I think I might have flipped this over. No, I didn't. Oh, right. Oh, yes. That's what happened. I missed a page. Sorry, I don't edit my videos, if you don't know. So every once in a while... And I don't have a script either, I just have notes. Sometimes my notes get mixed up. Then we get to the song The Darkest Part, a great piano and soul sample. When he just starts rapping... Danger Mouse does this thing where the drums get more compressed and louder, and I can't describe it. It's the interaction between the voice and these compressed drummers is just amazing and perfect. He makes reference to an anti-N-word machine, which is another sort of direct reference to Public Enemy. We're going to get a couple of those here. It's hard to hear Raekwon the Chef. Remember what I was saying about how, like, I think a lot of... my theory is that a lot of members of Wu-Tang just sort of succumb to substance abuse. That's how it feels to me. I don't know. I'm not basing this on anything, but just his voice is just doesn't have that like fire that it used to have. Then we get to the song No Gold Teeth, which is not a preachy song. Another great, simple, old school bass rumble, these guitar notes. The sample here, the guy keeps on saying, stop, and he mixes it in, much like on the first song sometimes. I love it. I love the idea of taking the beat and building off of it. Super hard rapping, talking a lot about Philadelphia. Philly ain't known for cheesesteaks only. Stop. Yo, I'm the only one at the top where it's lonely. I've got everyone mean mugging, like Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte. Just, I love Nick Nolte, and I love that he had that weird mugshot. And, you know, Philly ain't known for cheesesteaks only. Geese Guevara, more mother, and this. Also, one more thing about cheesesteaks. Don't eat at Geno's. Racist. It's a racist place. If you go there and you're like, oh, look, they got the two places next to each other. You can go to Pat's. But really, in my opinion, the best cheesesteaks are Steve's Prince of Steaks. And if you want maybe a more interesting experience, try going to a place called Ishkabibbles, which is another cheesesteak place, which has like a very, like every Ishkabibbles I've ever been to has like a very interesting vibe. Very different than the other places. Anyways, but Philly is known for more than that, partly thanks to hip-hop. Then we get to the song Because, featuring Dylan Cartledge, Joey Badass, and Russ. Just a gorgeous... It's not a sample, I don't think. I think it's actually this guy Dylan Cartledge singing. This is what I'm talking about. Like Danger Mouse, and maybe he gets this from working with the Black Keys too, where like the Black Keys make songs and you're like, was this song from 1958? Is this song from 1974? Please. And just a really cool socially conscious verse here from Black Thought. He mixes them in. Never win an award, we are wards of the court. If I were to snatch a shoulder bag from somebody's mama, am I cancerous? Can't discuss what the short answer was. Hungriest one, take the money and run. Sometimes simultaneously taking one of your lungs. What I mean is, I've seen everything under the sun. Below the poverty line, live under the gun. We all scheming. Savages ain't vegan. What the F is love? Don't need a reason to die. You die just because. Just a brutal line about death and trauma in the inner city, and this idea that we judge people who are desperate when we're not desperate, and that we don't know how we would behave if we were desperate. I do like how Joey Badass talks about his difficulty doing ollies. Practicing my ollie, can hardly get my feet up. Back when I was listening to this, I used to skateboard. I could ollie that much. That was how high I could ollie, but I was able to do it. I like the Russ verse, but it didn't particularly stand out. Belize, maybe the best beat on the album. I think it's like a French horn sample, these tinkling synthesizers. And the way to understand this song is to listen to it backwards, because MF Doom sadly died. If you're not a fan of this channel, you don't know the fact that I don't really know MF Doom's discography at all. I didn't pay attention to music, so I don't know anything about him. The only stuff I've listened to is that album Was Our Face from last year. So, feel free to fill my comments with what an ignorant slut I am. I don't mind. You can call me that. It's okay. I know. I need to know more about MF Doom. I'll get there eventually. I'm trying to keep up with new music. But because this was a posthumous album, you have to understand it backwards. Even though Black Thought's verse is first, it was recorded second, and it's in conversation with the first. So let's start off with Doom's verse, kind of a low growl that he traditionally has. Doom get rude with the dude off Chips. Chips was a TV show from the 1970s. That means the actor he's talking about is probably Eric Estrada. The mood switch he chewed off strips of a brood witch. Brood witch is from the TV show Aquamarine Hunger Force. And the dude from Chips, Eric Estrada, was a voice on the show C-Lab 2021. These are two Adult Swim things, so he's very clearly just probably, I don't know if he did drugs or not, he's either stoned and watching Adult Swim, or he's like me, stone sober watching Adult Swim. But either way, it's this kind of like funny, nerdy, weird references. Danger make a groove off a glitch, which is what he's able to do with this verse, with this beat. Make your boo booty twitch and the crew rich bitch. Just beautiful, awesome playing with these lines, mixing them together. And then we get to Black Thought's verse. Yo, I'm sick, no lymph nodes is swollen. They told me even when the records skip, keep it rolling. Records skip, danger make a groove off a glitch. Do you see how he's connecting it together? Sorry, I just scared the hell out of Toby when I snapped. He went like this. Do you see how they click together? When the records skip, danger make a groove off a glitch. Keep it rolling. On the shoulder like a California highway patrolman. On the shoulder, so a California highway patrolman is on the shoulder of a highway. That's one thing. But the other thing is people have chips on their shoulder, like when they hold grudges. So when you have a chip on the shoulder, you have one of those two guys on your shoulder. And it's tying together with the first line, dude got rude with the dude off Chips. Later, when MF Doom says, oh, Eric Estrada, he figures out the line and understands that's who he's talking about. I love the way Black Thought ends it. It's something like a plain bumper sticker, no slogan. Just a beautiful, nice line there. Top 2 of 1,000. Neither of these rappers made it to my top 5, but it's probably just out of my ignorance. Next song is Aquamarine featuring Michael Kiwanuka. I think I wrote that and pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, correct me. This has the sounds of an orchestra warming up that leads into a stuttered drum beat with this cool vocalizing in the back from Kiwanuka. Just beautiful. The voice is sweet and slightly off in the chorus as he sings, and also when he raps, his voice is kind of sweet and slightly off. The whole thing has a slight and sweet, that's that sour cream in the mix. That's that Kenji cake right there. Kind of a Western sound going on here, and then a beautiful meditation on the origin of humanity. The biology teacher said we used to be amoebas. The neighborhood preacher said we emerged from the ether. We converged from urethra and struck gold, eureka. He's referring to sperm, gold being the ovary. The morning star Tariq, I was born to be a teacher, where the scorpion or the frog, the nature of the creature is to evolve through the savage beast we truly are. My word should be studied in Berkeley or Juilliard. So the scorpion, the frog, like do we have a true nature, or can we grow out of it? These are the questions. These are questions he's asking. Where did we come from? What are we? And where are we going? Okay? The great existential questions are all in here. And he's trying to talk about how he's evolving into a better person, how he's someone who should be studied in other places. I'm a king, I'm dipped in God's black complexion. When they ask you how I really feel about a machine in a class that I'm in, alien horsepower like a Mongolian. I just like that because Mongolians mastered horse riding. That's how they're able to dominate. And it's just a very smart reference, right? So he's like mixing together all these things. And really, even though it's a question about human beings in general, it's about him in specifics. Sensory deprivation to ultimate synesthesia. You know, this guy definitely spends his time reading and learning about stuff. Synesthesia is when you experience multiple sensations at once. And so that's like, when you know what those words mean, sensory deprivation, ultimate synesthesia, it's a very powerful thought of going to those things. And that is sort of what our life is like. Like, that's what it's like when you're in the womb. I'm recording this on Monday. I'm going to be releasing on Tuesday. I'm trying to spread things out because my wife is going to give birth anytime. You know, you really start in the sensory deprivation tank, and then you come out into the earth, and then ultimate synesthesia. Identical Deaths is the next song. Funk drums, kind of like... The drums actually slow down. I think Danger Mouse, like, slows down. This is a very short song about him confronting himself. I met the monster on the rooftop of a plaza. The teleprompter said there's still an Oscar to conquer. I guess he almost has an EGOT, but he doesn't have an Oscar. The witch doctor asked me what's blocking my chakra. I told him it's probably caffeine, chronic, and vodka. So it's about him sort of facing himself, and then he talks about the signs that see him. They read, keep out, danger. So he feels that he himself is a danger to other people and to himself. This is that personal side. It's a very short song, but it's a very meaningful song because he's talked about humanity, he's talked about himself, and now he's confronting himself in the mirror. Next song, Strangers, featuring A$AP Rocky and Run the Jewels. This beat is insane. Posse, why is this album perfect? Why could we say it's perfect? Because posse tracks always suck. Nobody can produce a good posse cut. There's been exactly one posse cut that's ever been good, and that's All About the Benjamins. That's it. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating. Please tell me in the comments, what are your favorite posse cuts? A posse cut being a rap song where more than like 3 people rap on it, right? So this is a total posse cut, because you got Black Thought, A$AP Rocky, and the 2 guys from Run the Jewels, different schools, different approaches, but this is a posse cut that rules. It's this cool, weird beat that has these interludes with the zooby-dooby-doo sounds and spoken words, and you never want it to end. The compressed, weird sounds. I want this beat, much like the Benjamins beat, I want this beat to go on forever and ever and ever and just have a never-ending flow of rappers rapping over it. Danger Mouse constructed a posse cut that you are not tired of. I like all the verses on here. They're good. A$AP Rocky's talking about his Wi-Fi being broke. Run the Jewels are just really just going crazy out here. Monster of Art, Don't Start, Your Little Drop, Die Dark, Put You in a Long-Term Park. Just going on and on. Just really just savage rapping, really good. Then later talking about, shoot you in Lincoln's seat with the gun that shot Reagan. And it goes out with the drums, and when it's done, after hearing all 4 verses, I want it to keep going, but it leads into the next song, which is the low point on the album, Close to Famous. Cool kind of blaring keyboards, good bass, tight drums, weird warbled sounds. But in general, this song, maybe it's where it's positioned in between these 2 songs that I like more. I do like that it starts off these between Harry Belafonte and Harry Allen. So Harry Belafonte is a great civil rights figure and very service-minded, and Harry Allen is the hip-hop assassin who's referenced a lot in Public Enemy albums. So I haven't thought of Harry Allen in a long time. It's a good beat, but I'm just a little bit tired of the style. Fortunately, we get to Saltwater, totally different beat to start, like this weird sort of crashing crescendo beat that then goes into a Griselda-style beat that's better than anything that Derringer's ever made. Don't get mad at me, Griselda people. I review everything Griselda does, but this is a better beat than Griselda makes. These drums are so tight, and the bass gets just so low in the back, and it's so good, and it has that feeling, but it's somehow even better. And a whole verse where he's talking about how he can't reach street kids. What can I say to you that you would embrace? I guess nothing. Black Thought feels like he has nothing to say to the young black youth, but he wants to. Streets is a bitch, you up in the club with her, you should cease and desist, And then there's that opening crescendo, and you think this is going to be Conway's verse, but not yet. I pass the baton like a Howard Drum major. Black Thought is black thinking right here, okay? He's thinking a lot because he knows he's going to be passing the mic to Conway. Conway, whose album label is called Drumwork, who talks about drum work all the time. So when he says the word drums, it's not a coincidence, because if you're sitting there and you know Conway's work, you're waiting for it. The same way that you're waiting for someone to say Eric Estrada. Someone say Eric Estrada. Stop saying the dude from Chips. Stop saying Highway Patrolman. I'm just thinking the words Eric Estrada, Eric Estrada, Eric Estrada. I'm thinking, when is Conway going to come on? Great line, talks about Akira Kurosawa. You're a dickhead, I'm Dick Gregory. Again, just a great line. Dick Gregory, a great figure of civil rights and entertainment, the interchange of the 2. And then Conway, Black Thought, you can tell how good a rapper is by how hard the guest rappers try on their album. And Conway is at his absolute top of his game. Talks about Buffalo. He says something, let's call it back, and he does the same verse, but he changes it slightly with different rhymes. So he says, you'll see me at 3 a.m. in a Pontiac, and then he says, let's call it back, and then you'll see me at 3 a.m. in the trap. And just beautiful lines like, where I'm from, you gotta wear your coat even just to go to the laundromat. Like, damn, the laundromat, you know? Like that's pretty hardcore. Because, you know, you gotta wear a coat because presumably the coat has a gun in it, even to go to the laundromat. Or also that it's just very cold in Buffalo, very near where I live now. The final track is maybe a little of a disappointment. Violas and Lupitas, based on Viola Davis and Lupita Nyong'o. I thought this was going to be an ode to black womanhood, but it wasn't. It's just an ode to himself. But still, it's a good beat, these sweet strings and drums. I really like the way the beat develops. I believe he rhymes Sidney Poitier and Don Quixote, which is a pretty great rhyme. It's a nice song, but you know, the thing about this album is, you know, the best way I've listened to it so far is just having it on repeat, and then it starts up with Sometimes Again. And like most albums that are like this, like I just want to keep listening to it. Like I'm going to stop doing this video, and I know I should probably move on to some other album. Feel free to tell me in the comments what it should be. Don't say Megan Thee Stallion. I already did that one. You know, but like, I think I just have to buy this album. Speaking of buying the album, thanks to my Patreons, who give me money. And every once in a while, I will ask Patreons if they would like a specific shout-out on a specific video. And Cody Ladson says that Black Thought is his favorite artist of all time, so he would like a shout-out. Philip Walsh says that this might be the rap album of the year. This or Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I personally prefer Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, even though that's not a perfect album. I prefer it. I prefer its high points, even with its low points. But still, I think these are both in the conversation. Andrew Thompson also likes the album quite a bit. And Tatsu123 didn't ask for a shout out, but he liked the post. So, I don't know. Feel free to look in the description in case some stragglers say after I've recorded it. So there you go. Oh, 1 second. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the pancake directions. Yeah. So really, it's sour cream and buttermilk. That's the main thing. That's the main change. But then egg whites. All right. Well, until next time, where hopefully I'll have a baby. Every time I say until next time, Toby gets up. Toby, do you want to say something? Did you like the Black Thought album, Toby? All right. There's the camera.